We are probably the best documented Underground Railroad site in New York State.
Built in 1827 and established as a tin shop in 1832, this Mexico-based mercantile played a huge role in the Underground Railroad, a movement supported by the shop's owner and tinsmith, Starr Clark.
Starr Clark was the postmaster. He sold tinware. He sold general merchandise. He got the only newspaper in town. And because of that, that was a gathering place for the community back in the 1830s, 40s, and 50s. The people would come in here and they'd buy their goods, they'd get their mail, they'd sit down and read the paper that came from Albany once a day on a stagecoach. He was the station master here in Mexico for the Underground Railroad. Plans to help slaves escape were made here in this building. He organized the escapes, getting slaves from the Syracuse area, the Albany area, Peterborough, Rome, Utica.
Being located in the North Country, the tin shop served as one of the last stops on the Underground Railroad before crossing the border into Canada.
It was the gateway, the portal to freedom for the runaway slaves. They had to get across Lake Ontario to get to Canada. So there were many different locations where there were people who had boats. There was a very lively trade between Oswego and Kingston, Canada.
Starr Clark would bring up the Underground Railroad because in his heart he was an abolitionist. He made tinware and he sold dry goods, but he was an abolitionist. And he wanted to spread that word. And this was the headquarters in Mexico for spreading that word. And over the years, over the months and over the years, he got the people in Mexico and Oswego County to believe that slaves should not be slaves. They should be free people like everybody else.
Today, the museum serves as a historical landmark in the town of Mexico, even being added to the National Register of Historic Places in 2001.
The Starr Clark Underground Railroad Museum has more than one mission. We like to tell the story about the abolitionists and how they operated here and how they were able to help many runaway slaves get to Canada. We also have local history here that we like to tell people about. We have many different displays that show different aspects of Mexico history through the years.
We have slave manacles in the display case. There's an abolitionist flag down there that very few people have ever seen and don't know that it even exists. You notice there are 20 stars on this flag. They represent the 20 northern states. The abolitionists left off those from the south. The stripes are 9 instead of 13. The 13 were for the original colonies. These 9 are for the northern colonies, those that didn't have slaves back in the colonial days.
I think the thing we like most here is we educate people who come in and really do not understand about the Underground Railroad, the role that Mexico played in helping the slaves escape. And people will say to us, I never knew anything about that. I grew up here. No one ever mentioned this to me. And then in several instances, we've had people go to other locations that were known to help runaway slaves. So the interest is beginning to peak here.
Starr Clark's legacy has been brought back through this museum. For 150 years, nobody knew anything about Starr Clark until local people in the Historical Society started looking into the Underground Railroad and what happened here in Mexico. And Starr Clark happened to be the star of the Underground Railroad in Mexico.
In Mexico for WPBS Weekly, I'm Luke Smith.